What's up guys, I just passed my Yachtmaster's exam in Antigua, and today in this video I'm going to walk through the whole experience from beginning until I passed, what I did, how I did it, how it was, what the experience of my teammates was, etc, etc. In order to do the Yachtmaster's exam, there's a couple of requirements that you need. First of all, you need to have good knowledge of the theory. Then you need a first aid certificate, you need a radio certificate, and you need a certain amount of sea time. And that sea time is divided in time in tidal waters and time in non-tidal waters. If you want to know exactly how much time you need in tidal and non-tidal waters before you can do the exam, I'll put a link to a document that states exactly how much time you need, so you can check that out. It'll be in the description of this video. After you pass for the exam, if you want to have a commercial endorsement, so basically if you want to use the Yachtmaster certificate in order to get a job, then you need a commercial endorsement, and for that you also need a basic sea survival certificate or an STCW. That's what I'm going to do now. I'll explain more about that later. You need a medical fitness form from a doctor, and you need a professional practices and responsibilities certificate. Before I continue, I was not sponsored to make this video, nor have I received a discount from any of the companies I mentioned. This is just the companies I've worked with because it made sense to me or they were close to me. I knew that I had to do my radio license and my first aid before I could do the Yachtmaster's trainingsweek and the exam. So about 6 or 7 weeks ago, when I was still in Guadeloupe with my boat, I booked the trainingsweek and exam for last week. So I booked it 6 or 7 weeks ahead at the first date they had available, and the week before that I booked the radio VHF exam and the first aid course. Now everything was booked, and I had about 6 or 7 weeks left to do the theory. In the last year I've done multiple overnight solo sails, so I thought, okay, my theory is probably pretty up to date, but in most of the solo sails I've all done with a chart plotter. And basically the idea of becoming a Yachtmaster is that you can do everything during the day and in the night, the whole navigation, without a chart plotter. So for an example, in the night you have to be able to go out with a hand bearing compass by the use of visual aids like lights of buoys to find your way. Is it necessary to do a theory exam before you do the practical course and practical exam? It is officially not a requirement. However, if you know all the rules and regulations, including all the call regs, calculating tidal streams and tidal heights, and making courses to steer, and besides that, if you know how to make pilotage and passage plans, then you probably do not need to do a theory course, but for the majority of people you definitely do. I did my online course with Skippers Online, and basically the course has to be from the RYA. It has to be 40 hours minimum, but that's just the course. Like actually doing the exercises and grasping it and really learning it took me about 4 or 5 weeks every single day sitting on my computer. After I bought the online theory course at Skippers Online, they sent me a package which I had shipped to the DHL in Guadeloupe, and they shipped it very fast with a Yachtmaster shore-based notes, a training almanac, 2 fake charts that they're not real. I guess the RYA has produced them in order that one chart really has everything that you could possibly see on any chart. A Portland course plotter and a set of dividers, which you're gonna need. After that, it took me like more than a month every single day, almost a whole day on my computer, to really get everything down and to really understand how I needed to do all the exercises and to understand all the theory. And eventually I made a 30-page summary after that month of all the things that I really needed to learn. And then in the last week, every morning I just kept doing it on repetition every single day, repeating that information until it was stuck in my head. One thing I wish later on that I had done was buy flashcards with all the rules and regulations on it. We've also used that in the exam, and that would have actually been pretty helpful. So the course exists out of trainings modules, and when you've done all those, there are 3 mock exams and there are 3 real exams. And what separates this course from a book is that you actually get feedback. If you have a question, you can email it or ask the instructor, and they will reply usually within a day. And also for the exams, you get feedback. Now, after having done the real exam, I can tell you that if those 3 final exams that you have to make with Skippers Online, like if you can do them fairly easily, you have an easy time doing the actual exam. If you have a hard time doing those exams, you might want to practice a little more. My exams were okay. I still found that some exercises a little difficult, like tidal streams and calculating height of tides and courses to steer. I didn't have that fully down, and I really noticed that in the practical week. I was lucky because the group of people I did it with was, everybody was just really good at one thing, and they've also helped me a lot, and that's also one of the reasons eventually that I'm pretty sure because of that I passed. So yeah, I would say get it really down until you really understand everything really well. After doing all this theory and learning it all, there were about 2 days left before my first aid course started, and I met a girl in Guadeloupe like 2 months before that, and she had a job, she quit her job, moved onto my boat, but I still had to wait till she actually quit her job, and she moved on the boat, and now there were only 2 days left that I had to go to Antigua. So normally I make travel videos, so I will show you now how that trip was. If you're not interested in that, then you can just scroll forward until I start talking again. It is 5:45 in the morning. We're preparing to leave at first light. The first part of the trip, more east wind, and later in the day will be more north of east, which is less favorable. So I'm going to try to leave as early as possible. And we are off. Nice on time. There's generally a lot of wind when you just come around the point, so I have the first reef in the main. We're now motoring around the point. The mountain is stopping the wind, so hopefully we can sail after. Turn the engine off, reverse, and the key, and we are sailing. Yeah! In the last video I put sand and glue around under the autopilot for more grip. For now it works really well, but let's see when it gets more wet. Gonna navigate around some fish spots here. You see them? Over here. We are fighting the waves. They're coming from the northeast and we're going north. But there's a good amount of wind now. every 30 minutes the bilge is fully filling up. I don't know why. I'm trying to fix all the leaks, but I guess there still are leaks that I'm not aware of. There's so much sargassum everywhere. In the last hour there's not so much water in the bilge. We're heeling over a little less than we were before, and there's not so much water on deck. So the water that comes in the bilge has to come from the water that goes over the deck. So that's good to know. 3 miles more to go. The anchorage on the right there, that's what I'm going for. That's our bad. Not sure if everything's gonna be dry tonight. It's crazy what a little drip can make wet. Everything's outside, drying. Welcome to Antigua. This is on deck Antigua, and this is a training center who does RYA training courses. And today I did my first aid course here. And amongst others, we're doing how to reanimate somebody. The first aid course was a one-day course with theory and practical. It's not really a course where you can fail for unless you do it really, really bad. The radio course was different. The radio course I did online first. I had to do an exam. Then I had to go to the office here. I'm doing my courses with On Deck Antigua, and I had to go in to do a written test, and after that a practical exam where I had to take the VHF and had to make a mayday call and an urgency call and a DSC distress alert and those things. So I passed all that, and after that Monday was when my trainings week started. We just inflated a kayak for when I'm going to the course, which is over there about, I don't know, a quarter of a mile. But she has her own transportation.
This is my new car, and she's really fast.
But I forgot to put the fins under it, so it's a little less stable. But it's good. First time I blow it up, and I'm definitely going to use it a lot more. And I did my trainings week with 3 others, and I did it on a Beneteau First 40.1, which is a really easy to maneuver boat. Like for an example, my 30-foot boat with a full keel is really hard to maneuver in reverse, but that boat super easy to handle, easy to maneuver. So that was really nice. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my teammates, because then if you know what their background is, maybe it helps you to see if you also have similar qualifications. I'm not going to use their real names. I'm going to use Oscar, Romeo, and Charlie. Let me first talk a little bit. Oh, it's a little rolly here now. Let me first talk a little bit about my personal experience. 5 years ago I crewed on other people's boats, from San Diego down to Mexico, Costa Rica, to Panama to New Zealand, crossing the Pacific Ocean, and I was on a couple of different boats. And about 2 years ago I bought my own boat in Guatemala, and I sailed it from Guatemala to Honduras, Cuba, Jamaica, Bahamas, and then all the way to the East Caribbean, mostly solo, over the course of about 1.5 years. Romeo is 36 years old. He has similar experience. He bought a boat in the US with limited sailing experience, got it ready, sailed in the US and sailed it to the East Caribbean, and also in the meanwhile did other racing experience on different boats. And Oscar, in his 50s, he did the Clipper Around the World rally or race, and also he has done charters all his life. He actually didn't pass the last time, and in that time there were 4 people in the class. 2 of them did not pass, and that was because he hit bottom and his other teammate didn't know how to make a course to steer, so they didn't pass. And then Charlie had done a couple of thousand miles as a crew member on other people's boats, and then on one of those boats he had done like he had asked like, hey, can I be the captain for these passages because I need my experience to do the Yachtmaster. So he basically really had done the most limited amount of captain experience that you need to have to do the exam. Monday, day one, the first thing we did was a briefing. So each of us got an exercise. Like I needed to talk about safety on deck, and somebody else needed to talk about safety inside the boat, and somebody had to talk about how the engine works, etc. So I talked about safety on deck. So I talked about how the life raft works, which side you have to walk on the boat. So basically the idea is that you have to do a briefing as if a group of people will be on the boat that really don't know a lot about boating, and you're taking them with you and you have to explain everything. And it's important in this to also write down what your teammates say and later what the instructor gives for advice, because eventually in the exam you will have to do the same. In the afternoon we were given a tidal height calculation to do, but this time not with a training almanac, this time with a real chart of the Solent and the real pilot book. Two of us were given the assignment to make a passage plan and a pilotage plan for the day after to bring us from English Harbour, where I am now, halfway to a point in Jolly Harbour, and the other person had to continue from there. So if you don't know what the difference is, a pilotage plan is a plan to get yourself out of a harbour or into a harbour, and the passage plan is everything in between. Tuesday morning we leave the dock. One of us got the assignment who made the first passage and pilot plan to get us out of this harbour. He had to take us off the dock and then instruct the others to raise the mainsail, and basically the instructor did not really say anything in the beginning. She just wanted to see what our level was and how we were doing, and then she commented or made suggestions on that later. And then we continued halfway to the halfway point where the other person would start. And also here we were not allowed to use a chart plotter. We all had to do everything based on visual references. We did have to go in between reefs, or with reef on one side and land on the other side, all by the use of visual references or bearings. One thing I need to say about this course is that, like the RYA states, it is not a real instruction week. It is, yes, it is to brush up your skills, but it's not a real full trainings week because there's just not enough time. We're with 4 people on the boat and everybody gets a go at it once or twice, and you obviously see how the other people do it, and you can see if the instructor gives other people advice, you obviously learn from that, but there's no time to learn how to handle a boat. Like, you have to have the ability to sail, to handle a boat. Of course, in reality, I never do man overboard exercises and I never sail on a mooring buoy, but I do know how to sail and I do know how to handle a boat. So at that moment, the small things that I don't know are easy to learn in a week like this. And then we got into Jolly Harbour and we did a couple times docking. I think I did 1 time forwards and 1 time in reverse. Then in the evening we got another few theory exercises to do. I think now we have to do a course to steer. A day later, on Wednesday, there was almost no wind, so we go out, there was almost no wind. We did docking a few more times, and then when we got back, because on the dock in Jolly Harbour, because we stayed the whole day on the boat. This is English Harbour. We didn't come back here every time. We actually left here and then stayed away for the rest of the week. So then we got Wednesday evening, we got back on the dock in Jolly Harbour. It wasn't evening, it was like in the beginning of the afternoon, because there was barely any wind. And then the instructor started to tell us, gave us some information about Friday when we got the exam, about the chart that we were going to use. We were going to plan a route that was to be given to us on Friday, from the Solent to France, and she explained a few things about the chart and about the pilot book and about where we can find everything, because it's a really thick book. So at Wednesday evening, the instructor asks, like, would anybody of you still like to do theory exercises? And three of us were like, nah, they didn't want it, and they went out for drinks with the instructor. I was like, yeah, actually I do want to do another theory exercise, just to be sure. It was a very nerve-wracking week. I am used to solo sailing, and now I have to, tell a group of people what to do. So that was quite a bit nerve-wracking sometimes. So I wanted to be as good as I could prepared for the exam that we're going to have in the weekend. Thursday morning, me and Romeo, another guy, got the instruction to make a passage plan and a pilot plan to do basically the way back, almost the way back. Actually, we went one anchorage below English Harbour. We went to Plymouth Harbour. So he did the first part, I did the second part. So halfway we stopped and we did man overboard exercises, and then I continued. I sailed the boat into Plymouth Harbour, and I had to sail onto a mooring, and after that everybody had to sail the boat onto a mooring. We all could do that once or twice. Then we slept on a mooring, and basically Friday morning, in the morning we went back, and around 10:30 in the morning we were back in English Harbour, here where I am right now. Around 10:30 in the morning we got our practical exercises for the exam. So the exam would start only a couple hours later, at Friday afternoon. Because we were with 4 people, we started Friday afternoon until somewhere on Sunday. If we were with 3 people, we would have started the morning after, and then we would have had more time to make the actual plan. So what we had to do, we all had to make a detailed pilotage and passage plan to go from a given location in the Solent to France. Basically the info that we got, I'm just gonna read it, was like, okay, you go from here to there, your sailboat is doing an average of this speed, these are the wind conditions, this is your leeway, and here's your compass deviation table. Now make a passage plan including tidal streams and height calculations, courses to steer, and a detailed pilotage plan. Passage plan. Basically everything that was learned in the online theory course that I did. Friday afternoon the examiner arrives, and we go to the boat, and we have to do, each of us gets immediately an assignment to immediately do a briefing about one of the subjects, similar as what we started off with in the trainingsweek. Saturday morning the examiner asks one of us to make a passage plan and a pilotage plan, and basically take us off the dock. So Charlie takes us off the dock, and immediately the examiner asks, okay, now go there and dock the boat over there. Okay, so he docks the boat, and then he has to take the boat off again, and then basically continues with his plan. Charlie instructs us to put up the sails inside the harbor, and then we go out, and we sail for a while. And when the instructor had seen enough, he asks me to come downstairs with him, and we go over a whole bunch of flashcards, like coal regs, rules and regulations, and a whole bunch of cards with lights in the night. And then I have to say, okay, well, this is a boat over 100 meters at anchor. This is a towing vessel where the overall tuck and tow is more than 200 meters. Like a whole bunch of those, so you gotta know those really, really well. When Charlie arrives at the anchorage, he has to anchor the boat, something we had not done yet in the trainingsweek. And then next person continues. He decides to put up the mainsail first, and then pick up the anchor, and then continue, which was all good. And he continued with his passage and with his passage plan and his pilotage plan. We continued to the next anchorage, and there he dropped anchor, and now it was my turn. I had to make a passage plan and a pilotage plan, and it was quite windy, and we were quite close anchored to other boats, so I decided not to put up the mainsail first. I decided to do under engine, pull up the anchor, and that was all good. And we continued. I had to sail into Jolly Harbor, and then after that dock the boat, which all went well. And I thought, okay, it's 4 or 5 p.m. now, this went really well, we're probably finished now, but we weren't. He was like, okay, well, in 2 hours when it gets dark, we're going out again, and this is a spot on the chart, like a spot where it was either like a lot deeper than the surrounding area, or a spot where it's a lot more shallow. And he was like, you have to find this spot. So and we could only use a hand bearing compass and the lights of buoys in the surrounding region. So that was definitely the Romeo went first, and it took a very long time. I was the only one that actually made his mark, or actually made it exactly to my spot. The others all came close. I actually made it. According to some others, I made it because of sheer luck. According to me, let's not go into that. Okay, let's continue. We get back around 10 p.m. Romeo docks the boat and we go out for a drink. The day after at 8 in the morning we start again. Oscar, who had not docked yet, takes the boat off the dock and immediately has to dock somewhere else to show his docking skills. After that we almost go out of the harbor and immediately he has to sail onto a mooring buoy. After he did that, we all have to sail onto a mooring buoy. Every one of us has had trouble with one exercise. I didn't yet, but everyone until now had a problem with a difficulty with one exercise. Like, the idea is that you have to be able to be captain of the ship and captain of the people and keep everyone safe and sound. You don't necessarily have to make every mark the very first time. We continue, we go, actually Romeo is doing this trip and he brings the boat out of the harbor, and then we're going to do man overboard exercises. This is where I make a mistake. We suddenly get into a pocket of very light wind. We're doing less than half a knot and I drift downwind onto the man overboard, and we pick him up very easily, very slow, but the maneuver was incorrect because I went downwind. I have to do it again and I do it correct, and we continue. Romeo brings us back on the dock. I think we arrive back maybe around 2 or 2:30 p.m. and then we all go to the classroom, and then we are all going to discuss our passage and pilotage plan that we made 2 days earlier on Friday with him, and he asked questions about it. And then after that I thought, okay, well, we're finished now, it's over, but it was not. And we get another chart, and then we have to do a tidal height calculation. So he tells me like, okay, well, at this place, he marked a place and there was like a drying height of 1.3 meter. And he was like, on your birthday, you have a boat with this draft. From what time to what time can you enter and exit at that certain place? Okay, done that. Then I got another chart, and then I had to make a course to steer. And when that was correct, we were actually finished. When we all finished, we had a conversation with the examiner. Apparently, in England, about 50% succeeds at the exam for the first time, and in the Caribbean, about 2/3 of the students. We were very lucky. All of us made it. Now, when you would like to commercially endorse your Yachtmaster certificate, you have to either do the basic Sea Survival Day course, or you have to do the full STCW. For most boats, if you want to work on them, you need an STCW anyway. Depends on which country you do it, but in the countries where in many countries they will require at least an STCW. STCW is a full week of courses. It's 1 day of personal safety and social responsibility. and 1 day of first aid. I didn't have to do that because I already did that. A basic sea survival you have to do, and then it's 2 days of firefighting. I am doing this course this week right now. When you finish this all, you also still have to go to a doctor to do a medical exam, and you have to online do the professional practices and responsibilities certificate, and that's the one I still have to do. So I hope you learned something today. If you're going to do it yourself, I wish you a lot of luck, and maybe see you in the next video.